Welcome to another badass video from Network Engineer Academy. And this video number 3 out of 5 videos about that topic of VLANs. You know, like, what's a VLAN? And that's exactly the process that I'm walking you through. Not only for you to see like the big picture, for you to be like, okay, Jorge, like I get it. Like, no, for you to be able to process everything that I'm walking you through in a way that you can communicate that to other people, in a way that you can answer a technical question related to VLAN completely different from everyone else. That way you can get the job. That way you can get that promotion. That way people can see that you have more value to offer to the marketplace than other people. And that's exactly why I'm so excited about. And by the way, if you haven't watched video number 1 and video number 2, you better go back and watch video 1 and video 2 first. If not, this video will not make a lot of sense to you, because each video I'm basically going through this process and build upon the previous video. So let's get right into it. This is basically the picture or network diagram that we've been working on video 1 and on video 2. And that's based obviously on 3 networks, 3 VLANs, right? VLAN 10, VLAN 55, and VLAN 77. And that's exactly what we did on video 2. We went through that process and configured the on-packet tracer. So now you have a better idea on how to do that, right? And all based on using a layer 2 switch. Layer 2 means layer 2 of the OSI, the data link layer. Switches all about frames, all about MAC addresses, right? So that's basically what we've been going through so far. But now you see, based on this, we have a problem. And that's that now the end devices want to communicate with each other. Now let's think about this, right? And this is probably something for you to take a minute and for you to be like, okay, based on everything that I went through on video number 1, based on everything that I went through and did on video number 2, you know, what will be the best way for me to define the problem that we have so far? That computers that are unable to communicate with each other. Obviously, you know, like these computers can communicate with each other. No problem. They belong on the same network, same VLAN, same broadcast domain. You know, same here. You know, these 2 computers can communicate with each other. No problem. Servers, the same. But you see now that we have this issue, and that's basically where we left out on video number 2. That now, let's say any of these computers obviously want to access, you know, file services, print services, you know, be able to log in, you know, be able to reach out a domain controller. You know, they're not going to be able to. Why? Because they belong on a different network. And as you can probably see, we are using a layer 2 switch, not a layer 3 switch. Now, how will you define this problem? Again, based on everything that you've been going through so far up to this point. And if I were you, I will take probably a few minutes for me to process it. That way, from this point on everything that I'm going to walk you through, you will be able to connect that new information that I'm going to teach you with everything that you know so far. And this way, it's going to make a lot more sense to you. They just kind of going through on, oh, VLAN, they do this and they do that. And yes, did you get it? Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Like, you know, like everyone else teaches technical topics. Anyway, so let's go through it, okay? Let's go through this exercise. You know, how will you define the problem? Like me, you know, that's a few ways, obviously, but for me, it will be like, okay, so right now, yes, I see the problem that in order for these computers that belong on different networks, different broadcasts, for them to be able to communicate with each other, there has to be some type of routing, you know, because that's exactly what we use, you know. Computers have what we call a gateway, and on that gateway, we need to have an IP, and that's obviously the IP of that router that we are connected to, the one that's going to allow us to get out of our VLAN, out of our network, out of our segment, right? You see, the way that you communicate what you know by educating people based on other topics makes a huge difference, because you need to make sure that they can see the big picture. Okay, again, write this down. You need to make sure that they can see the big picture. And that's the way that you communicate what you know, the way that you answer the question, that you go and walk in someone through a problem, a solution. you know, because yes, it's common sense for you to answer a question based on a technical definition, but that's not going to help you because everyone else will do the same thing. You know, when I talk to project managers, you know, some of them come up to me and they're like, you know, Jorge, I really like the way that you explain things. I really like the way that you were talking to the vendor, you know, in order for us to really communicate with each other. Because let me tell you one thing, you can be a really badass based on a technical point of view. And yeah, you probably know a lot. But if you want to get to a higher level position, you need to talk to managers. You need to talk to vendors. You need to talk to upper management like executives. And if you have no idea on how to present what you know, I'm telling you, you're fucked. That's the truth. So that's the reason why I take the time to walk you through this process, because I know how our minds work and going through and learning content, information, in a way that you can recall, in a way that you can present it, in a way that you can communicate it, and in a way that you can apply it, like use it, okay? So take that to the bank, because I'm really giving you like gold. So now let's go back. So based on that, right, and me educating, or let's say you educating me, because I'm the one that asked you the question, you know, how can you define the problem about, you know, we have end devices that wants to communicate with each other? Make sure you take a few minutes, you know? And I just give you an idea on that issue. So I'm telling you, so one thing and solution will be, well, Jorge, I just told you, you know, in order for computers to communicate with computers from another VLAN network, there has to be some type of routing in place. And obviously, I know layer 2 switches, they don't do any routing. I mean, if we had the budget, the company, and if they had layer 3 switches, okay, you know, they can do switching and routers. And by the way, layer 3 switches, you know, just for you to know, there are switches. When you buy a layer 3 switch from Cisco, let's say brand new, or when you get that from eBay and it's like not configured, you know, clear, you know, they restore the switch, a layer 3 switch, it's just a switch. That's it, it's just a switch, even though it's a layer 3 switch. When that layer 3 switch becomes a router, is when you use the command IP routing. But if you don't apply IP routing command and the layer 3 switch, it's just a switch. Okay, so you are basically adding a badass huge feature on the layer 3 switch, and that's routing. But that's a few things that you cannot do on a layer 3 switch, even though it does some routing. You cannot do on a layer 3 switch. Did you know that? You cannot use all the features of quality of service. Did you know that? You see, that's a few other things too. You know, a lot of people get that confused. A lot. Anyway, so in this case, we got this router, a 2900 series router, you know, not like one of the top, but a good one still, right? And we have to connect it, right, through using an Ethernet cable straight through and connect it to, let's say, this port, okay? And that's, by the way, a gigabit Ethernet port and the switch, right? So now we have a layer 3 network device connected to the switch. So obviously, as you probably know, routers, they're useless when you take them out of the box. They're not like the switches, you know? It's not like, okay, let's plug it in like a switch, and then boom, you know, computers are gonna start communicating with each other. That's not how it works, right? They're useless. That's why they're gonna pay you, for you to configure, for you to come up with some solutions, ideas, you know, for you to, that you can apply and use. So yeah, so we have this router, right? So to plug it in. And obviously this is something that I'm gonna walk you through in detail on video number 4 when we do. Right now, I'm walking you through and I'm showing you, you know, so you can see like the big picture. But on video 4, the next video, I'm gonna walk you through for you to do back on our lab, okay? So far we have the layer 3 router. That's because it works on the network layer of the SMRO. You know, always go through this, you know, because that's how the information is gonna stick in a way that's gonna help you big time. So now the next thing is, or basically this is a process that we call router on the stick. And yes, many people think, oh, Jorge, they don't use that right now out there. Believe me, There are a few companies, small, big companies, they still use this. Or probably that's a few networks, you know, a few sites that probably 5-7 years ago was like, it was set up that way. And because, you know, Cisco equipment lasts like forever, you know, they're probably still working based on that. So yes, that's many out there, they still go through using this, you know, this method, router on the stick. And that's basically when you have a layer 2 switch and a layer 2 switch and a router, you know, 2 physical devices, and you connect them. Now here we need to think about on something that I'm going to explain on video number 5, and that's about trunking. Why? Because it's huge. You need to know what's trunking. All companies, you know, use VLANs, and if you use VLANs, you need to know what's trunking and all of that. Okay, so here we need to use trunking between that connection between the layer 2 switch and the layer 3 network device, the router. Okay, and then we have to go through the process and configure some sub interfaces, because obviously, if you can probably see, we only have one physical connection, one interface. So we have to kind of borrow that one interface and like chop it off, you know, like create sub interfaces out of that interface, just put it that way, depending on how many VLANs do you want. So if we have 10 VLANs, we need to create 10 sub interfaces. If we have 5 sub interfaces. In this case, based on everything that we've been going through on video number 1 and on video number 2, we have only 3 VLANs, VLAN 10, 55, and 77. And that's exactly the way that you go on configuring this on the router, you know, based on the VLAN number. And that's something, again, that I'm going to walk you through on video number 4. So that's all I have. What I want you to get out of this is, okay, based on video 1 and on video 2, now I know how to configure VLANs, because that's exactly what I did on video number 2. You know how to move them from port from VLAN 1, the default VLAN, native VLAN, to a different VLAN. I went through the process and creating the 3 VLANs. And now, yes, now the computers are in their respective VLAN, but they cannot communicate, you know, computers to other computers from other networks. So, and that's where we're gonna go through and configuring router on the stick. But how can you explain that? How can you go through this process? And everything that I went through on this video for you to like really connect it in a way and process it in something that will make sense to you. You know, you don't have to use my method and, oh, I'm gonna say what just Jorge said, you know, like word by word. Like, no, come up with your own, something that's gonna make sense to you, something that can be your own. That's gonna help you the best. So again, if I were you, and if this topic is completely new to you, I'm gonna ask you for you to go through the 5 videos, not once, but twice. Now, if this is something probably that you went through before, you have some type of idea, that's fine, just go through them just once, but take the time to do what I ask you to. If not, just by going through videos, it's not gonna help you. I'm telling you, it's not gonna help you. That's the reason why there's a lot of people out there in the IT community that may have a few IT certifications, but they don't have a badass job. And that's because they cannot sell themselves out of a bag. You know, like when people say, because they have no idea how to communicate the things that they know. And a lot of the times it's just based on they didn't took the time to go through this process the way that I'm asking you to. Now, the last thing is for you to obviously like this video, for you to share the video, comment underneath this video, and obviously for you to subscribe. And that's it. I will talk to you on video number 4, where I'm gonna walk you through on how to configure this and do this on our lab that we start going through and doing on video 2. So I'm gonna talk to you there on video number 4.